Hello guys, welcome back. It's Pete Dahlgren, and as was requested, we're doing a series only on these wings to do these things. And this is going to be about a half an hour. And I'm just going to set the camera up here next to the wing tank, and then I am going to explain this layout on the flat part. Now, as you guys saw yesterday, I did actually take and mount this up, and I did glue these down, and I want to show you guys what you want to be looking for. You want this solid, but you want it removable, and you just want to be able to put it in without any issues. Now, the one thing is that I want to explain is on this one it is slightly different, and it's going to be something that you're going to see that is going to make you scratch your head a little bit, possibly, maybe not. I don't know. A lot of you guys are pretty good builders. I wasn't going to do this series. I was actually kind of done with it, but I figured I needed to get a few things going. Now, I'm going to explain the layout on the hinging on this, because this kind of is something that needs to be done first. So I'm going to set this up, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. And hopefully you guys can, yeah, okay guys. Now what we're doing here, I'm going to show you this real quick, and I'm going to show you both ways and why it has to go like this. And you want to make sure you're centered onto this. Now I'm not doing this yet because I have not changed this arm. It's very important that you have the arms that you are in fact wanting to be using on here. This piece right here on the hatch, and this is why it's also very important that you have the servos you're going to use. There's going to be a space here, and it does not matter in any of the configurations on how it works. It is never going to be any different. So we got a little bit of a kind of a fitment issue here, which is not a big deal. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to rectify that situation real quick. Now, I want these to face each other on the doors, because it's how I did them on this one. But what I want to show you guys is that it's very important. It takes a second to actually go and get these. You want to make sure this is actually split in this area right in here and in there. And the reason for that is because we're going to take a couple pieces of scrap like so, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to glue those onto the rib in the two areas so that we have a spot to screw these into. Now, these you can go at your leisure and put them in, but this one is kind of a tricky little bugger, and it took me a second to think about it. And again, you want to take this and you want to find out where this is going to be, and then mark these areas very carefully with a pencil or whatever you got, and make sure that all this stuff is actually straight. Now, you're going to have a small piece, and it's actually millimeters. They are 18 by 22 millimeter plywood pieces, and these are the ones you'll get in the kit. But what we want to do here now is we're going to set one of these aside, and what I'm going to do here now, and mind you, the best way to do this and get it is to actually clamp one down and make sure it's absolutely straight like this. Now you can eyeball it, but it's not precise, and this really does absolutely need to be. So what I will do now is I will take, because this is a pinch fit, guys, once this thing is actually bolted down, it's not going to move. So you can actually take your finger and hold it down and actually hold it where it needs to go. And you can move this thing around, and then it's going to be very similar to that. Now I'm not going to glue this in yet. I'm going to go ahead and get my aluminum horn. And this is important because I'm going to show you what the difference is on this real quickly. These do not take a lot of time to change out, but the one thing that will happen, and guys, these usually come with a lot of the servos. If you get them in a good deal, and I strongly recommend them. There's no chance of them breaking, and they don't strip. They have that extra bolt in there, and they work out really well. So anyway, what I'm going to do here now, I basically know where that is and clamp down. There's no chance of it really moving that much. And then I will take, and a little trick here is this is the way these servos normally come. And we're going to program them again anyway. And I will be removing these again before I paint and do the other things in glassing and all that other stuff. But what we want to do here is make sure we're going to be facing that way. Get them off, they're pretty tough. Although if you don't want to go with aluminum horns, these are probably going to work just fine for you. But I like the aluminum horns better. Just a preference to things I like to do. I like aluminum shiny pieces because they're cool looking. Now, you want to be really careful on your servo that the servo hardware you get, you want to make sure that you're not forcing anything on there because it's really tough on the gears at times. And this is just part of the build and the setup of the airplane. And I think one of the biggest things guys get kind of screwed up on is that, oh, those don't fit right. Well, they do. And these are not exactly a cheap servo, so we want to be making sure that what we're putting in there, you get 8 servos in this airplane. I got 9 of them for this. One's for the steering and other things which I wanted to absolutely make sure that everything was matched up. I don't want any mismatched anything. And sometimes you got to remove that side screw just to get these things to quit acting up. But you're going to need them anyway. So anyway, sorry about this, guys. This one's just being a little bit stubborn. I got 2 screws in there that are acting, and I forgot about that. So Let's take another one out of here. Okay, now the one thing is, guys, there are 2 screws in these horns, and you want to be watching that. Just being very careful. And that's just a lock in that. Once you're doing that, then they'll actually go in fairly easy. If they don't, you're going to be pile driving your servo, and you don't want to be doing that either. Or stripping it out. Okay, there we go. Now, I forget things sometimes, but anyway, this is just where we're at on that. Now I'll come back and tighten a lot of these out, but it should sit in there like this pretty easy. And just make sure when you're not putting unnecessary strain on your parts. It sucks when they go to that. Now what I'm doing here, guys, is I'm actually making this so with the end on here, I don't want any writing on this. And what I mean by that, I don't want this arm rubbing against anything in here. So I will take this and set it. And I will dry run this. And another thing is that servo arm will have to be put in, and you're going to have to program it to run, because it's either going to be full up or this one will be full down. And you do that with your programmer and all that stuff like that. You can adjust that once you're in here. So basically what we're going to do now is we're going to take this, now that I've established it's pretty much in the center, we'll carefully lift this lid off. Now it will center, and this is why. But you need to make sure that you have that part again actually sitting in there, and it's actually the perfect spacing for everything that goes on. And when it does sit in there, it is good. Now you can reach in here, and you can actually go and make a mark right here. And I'll show you what that is. You can't really do too much with it unless you're in there. But what you want to do is you want to mark this like so. Sometimes you can put a clamp on here and it'll pinch this in, but this is the best way I know of to do this. And all I do is take all this out. I know it looks like a bunch of extra work. I will use this because it is square. And then I will draw that line in here. And then again, this is the one that it's going to sit on right there. In order to do this and check this, we will just set the servo in, because they are a pinched fit. Just make sure that you got it sitting to where it's going to be, and sitting on that line. If you got a straight line, it's a straight line, and there's no second guessing that. Now, what I'll do is I'll take these pieces in here and I'll set them down in there like so. And the wires need to be out of the way. Again, I will take these marks that I made on here about where they need to be, and then I just take and put a clamp on it. Then this one, in order to hold that one, you can get a clamp in it right there. And basically what we're going to do is make sure that this has not moved. And then we can take and put our door right on here like so. I'm looking in here and it's off. So what we can do is make sure that our lines and everything here stayed right, but they didn't. So we need to come over. This needs to come over to the other side of this line is what it comes to. Okay, that line was actually fine, but you want to make sure you're going on the other side of that line. And this is why we're double fitting it. And once you see this and you've got everything pretty much where it is going to sit, not moving the servo, I'm finding that my line is right. And what we want to do here is come in. You can tack glue this down with CA if you wanted to, but I do not like gluing anything with CA when it comes to plywood. I just would rather soon be done with this. Now I'll take my other two pieces. Make sure you're using all these pieces and all these parts. And don't skimp and rip yourself up. I'm not doing it, and that should be, this should be good. We're going to double check the fit one more time. Hold it down. And then carefully lift it up and make sure nothing is moved. Now, what we will do here is I will actually glue these down like I did in here. And the reason, and this is why you don't want to glue this down yet, guys, is because even if this goes and moves around a little bit, your servo is stuck. It ain't never going to move, but this will give you any opportunity to move it back and forth just a little bit. And that's going to give you a perfect alignment of these. So all I'm going to glue now at this point are these pieces, and then I will come back after these are set up, and I'll put a block in here to hold this, keep it from moving, and I had a couple of blocks just to stiffen it up, and I did those like, it's just a couple pieces of balsa is all it is. But this will keep these from ever popping loose and coming in the way they should it ever happen. It doesn't usually, but worst case scenario, things do. So basically all I'm going to do now at this point is I'm going to come back, I'm going to glue the back ones in here. And again, I use syringes, and the reason I do is because I get a lot better gluing that way. And I don't care about drips on that part right there. You're going to glue them in just like so. And then I will just come back and do the same thing up top. These will get one piece on here glue, like so. Darn, Pete, don't let that glue kick your ass. Okay. And it won't stick to your servos, guys. In case you're wondering, it does not stick to the servos. They'll pop right out. Now what I like to do here is take and put this on again, make sure nothing moved. We look. Looks really good. This can be deceiving, but what you want to do is just come back and double check everything. Make sure your line is nice and straight in there. And then what I do is I'll come in with some, I think I got some over here. Okay, so you don't have to be real overly pretty, but you're going to need about 4 or 5 of these to do this and make it right. You must have it white out your sheets now. And basically all I'm doing at this point is coming back, adding a little bit of glue in here, and then I put these in like so. This one is to, this block here is to keep it from moving. And you can just drop it in like that. And all that one is doing is actually just basically all I'm doing here, guys, is just making sure that this thing doesn't have any way, should I do it, of popping any of these loose, and just a little added insurance, all it is. Doesn't really add much for weight and things like that. These are just a little bit, and then while I'm doing this, after I'm getting these in place, guys, I'll once these are all in place, now I'm using yellow glue. I'm not using any CA on this part. This is something I won't do. And you want to just take and make sure that's going to move, and then we will do one more fit while it's wet. It looks good. It's not riding. We're good. We're going to let that dry and write it off. If you're using a syringe, I just use a piece of tape on the end. It keeps it usually dried up. Now, with that being said and done, we can come back to this one. And again, we want to double check everything here, but we got some little pieces and parts we're going to do. Now, we are got a lot of little tiny things to do here, but there's one thing that I want to do before all this goes in. And that means once these start, we got to start cutting all these old speed brakes off here, off the old jig. Now, these pieces here, these old legs, you don't want to throw them away. And the reason for it is, I'm going to cut one off real quick. I'm going to show you exactly why. Because these, I recycle as okay, so anyway, we get these cut off. These little pieces work amazing. And I will leave a little bit of them along, funny enough, because there are little pieces and things that go in there. Now, when you see this, you're basically, that is the perfect spot for your hinge in a screw. And I'm using, might help if I had some of them actually glued on. This is a lot easier to do right now than it is later. And basically what I will do now is I'll come back and I'll cut these off in a 45 like this. One of those legs makes pretty good for two of them. And that's just how I do it. And it's plenty strong enough for, and these are plenty strong for the door. Once they're all in there, they're kind of pinched to fit. And I don't believe in really wasting wood. I will reuse tons of it in various areas. This is going to be as pretty as you make it, and it doesn't have to be friggin' amazingly awesome, but anyway, I do kind of clean them up a little bit. And then I know where they're going to go, so anyway, I will just basically come in like so. And I've got two clamps, so I'll glue two pieces. Actually, I got a lot of clamps, I just don't have any handy. This is just for your instructional enjoyment and laughability. But anyway, what I'll do is I'll do this now, and I'll adjust these out just here. Now I like to use a piece of anything I can to wipe that excess glue out of there, because you don't want to have to sand that out. And that's basically what you got there now, guys. You got a perfect piece for the screwing. And then I will just take a small drill and actually put a few pieces in here. Now this one here, you want to make sure that when you're doing this is that you're giving yourself enough room on the bottom of this, because it's going to go in like that. Not really a big deal up here, but it is on the bottom. You want to make sure that you have, I got to go down and get a new saw today. I'm just totally, I've wore these out over the years. This saw's lasted me about 15 years. I'm surprised it will even, I'm very surprised that it's even able to cut anything. I don't even think it'll even cut me anymore. But anyway, you don't need a lot of glue on these, but you want to make sure that if this is going towards the bottom or top, it doesn't matter, they're all the same. But you want to make sure that everything that you're doing has enough room to work. And that being said, this is what those should look like. Pretty close to it. And what this will do is it will sit in here like so, but we're also going to put 2 more, but I'll do them after I cut some other stuff out. Anyway, guys, this is a basic idea on this, and we're just going to keep on building. And I'm kind of limited. I'll download this, send it out. We'll talk about it. I'll show you when I glue these down, how they are. Then we're going to start making the mounts for the G10 and assembling the G10. So I'm going to explain the layout on all of this, and then we'll start going on the next video series part on this part. Because this is where all the questions came out, was the hinging, this and that, the leading edge, everything. So we're just going to cover it all and make sure everybody has a full understanding on how this is actually done. And I'm actually going to do it live with you guys to show you how I did it. So anyway, some I'll alter out a little bit, but this is how I'm doing it, and this is how it's going to roll. But anyway, before you put your hatches on, they should look something like this. And guys, they don't move for nothing, and they come right out. Should you take your lid off, they come right out, not a problem. And they move well, and they just seat right in there. They're a pinch fit again. So anyway, that's where we're at. I'll see you guys in funny papers.